on day 13, resist, and I brought my friends to show you. So I think I've already mentioned that I have turtles, and when I had to shop, I had a big tank with my 2 turtles in it, Zoe and Joey. So this is Zoe and Joey. They're very similar in size, so no one can ever tell them apart. But at one point, Joey bit Zoe's foot because they're territorial, and so now we can tell because Joey's missing toes on the back left foot. But here, I'll show you their size. Look how big they are. So these are my buddies. I thought they'd be good with my frog and toad shirt today, and now this is just way too much information just about me, so I'm putting them away. We're gonna talk. Hold on. Let me sanitize my hands really quick. Hold on. Okay. And then we're going to talk about our supplies for the day and what we're doing. So we're going to paint something that looks like this. It might also, like, there's some varieties of what we can do with it today, but we're talking about resist, which is going to be a good one. Our supplies are the same as they have been all along, so I'm going to like zip through that one today. You need to have a towel and some water. You need to have a heat gun, and your paints. Let's have an ink pen just in case, a round watercolor brush. This one's a size 10. I've got a pencil, a kneaded eraser, and this time, okay, so a 3" by 3" piece of watercolor paper. And then also this is a white crayon. If you've got a white crayon, if you've got any color crayon, honestly, that would work. I think sometimes people have used like wax for this, and I think there's other ways, but this is what I'm going to use today. If you've got something like this, it's great. If not, honestly, you could just like ignore it and do the rest of the painting and you're going to be fine. But that's our supplies for the day. Okay, good. If you've got a candle, if you've got a drink, get comfy and cozy, because that's what we do here. And day 13, if you've got your cards. Oh, also, don't forget your calendar. And we can just mark off our days. It's really fun to watch progress. I love like visually seeing what we're doing. Day 13, resist. Use a white crayon before painting to create areas of resist. These areas will remain white when painted over. And I'm realizing I did not capitalize the T in these. I apologize. So because it's a resist and it's crayon and it's wax, think about crayons. You can't take crayons off of paper. And so that's why it's a resist, not masking fluid. And we'll talk about masking fluid tomorrow, but the resist stays there on the paper, and all that's happening is that you're going to paint over it, and the paper will then resist absorbing the watercolor paint, and that's the whole story. So we're going to do a cute little painting today using this technique. Let's get to it. Okay, my goal right now is to not forget about that white crayon, because resist has to go on before we get into paint, you know. I'm just showing you the different varieties. Like this one, I did little leaf shapes in the background. You can't, this one didn't really turn up, but there is one there. Like it's just the paint kind of went over the top, I think. So we're gonna make sure we like press hard enough on those. This one is just more simple, very like neutral. Like there's not a ton of difference between these colors. And I kind of like it that way. Like it's nice. It's a nice break from the bright, bold colors. But I think, okay, so this is the one we're going to do today because it's just got a little bit more to it. This is the one whose colors I like the best. So I love how we got into this yellow in contrast to this sort of muted blue color we're doing in the background. And I think it's beautiful. So we have this like soft yellow color in the background. Then we have a brighter yellow put into one side and maybe the edge over here. Then we're going to put in sort of this burnt sienna or brown. And remember, all the ink is last. And so that's what it looks like. And I love the brightness of the yellow against the blue. So that's the thing I want to change. We're going to do the one on the right, but I would like to use these for like coloring. And I want to show you that we did the resist in these stripes. And I also did resist around the leaves and the acorn this time. See the difference between the two? This one doesn't have resist around and this one does. And I do like how this looks. But one thing I want you to think about in advance is that if you have this resist around the outside and it overlaps onto where you painted or overlaps your pencil line more than you want it to, when you go later on with this ink, it may be tricky because you can't really do ink on top of crayon. So you have to be careful with your placement if you're going to do both a resist around the edge and do your ink over the top. Make sense? So we'll talk about it. We'll get it. I'm going to move those ones out of the way. I might reference that one for color. I'm going to leave this crayon close so it does not get out of sight and out of my mind, because that's the kind of thing you have to redo a whole video for, you know? Okay, this is, I love it. What I want to point out in our observation mode, I know we just talked about the resist, but this line starts down here and it comes all the way through. So we're going to start by actually the center of the leaf and the center of this leaf. It goes into these V's, right? And then we do this outside part where we kind of come up, down the mountain, up the mountain, down the mountain, up the down mountain, blah, 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 on repeat, right? And we use this as our guide for the outside, which is a great way, seriously, a great way to simplify a leaf. Then we just popped a little acorn in there. If you don't want an acorn today, maybe do another small leaf going in this direction would be really nice for balance too. And now we do it. Do you guys have a drink? Are you all set? I'm so unprofessional. Better. All right. Okay. So this starts all the way over here. I can kind of place my fingernail, but not my whole finger next to it. If you want that for a guide, that'll keep you pretty far over. And realize this line needs to stop. I can put this whole square over here. It stops here, so I have plenty of space for this outside line. Okay, so it's going to come to about here. Okay, so pick a space in here, maybe put a dot. We'll take this up. Remember, it's coming up and a big curve over. Up and a big curve over. If we need to move this, we want to be able to. So press lightly on that pencil. Love this. I want to warn you in advance, if you get too close with this second line to this one, you will not have space for this leaf. I'm trying to think if this forms anything. Look at this, it's like a big beak. Look at it's like a big hawk's beak. Listen, I don't know anything about the beak of a hawk, but look at this big shape we're creating. You're gonna be like, that is not what a hawk's beak looks like, but you'd be right and I'd be wrong. Okay, here, up and over this way. So it really is going this direction. And even then I probably could come higher because I do want space. I'm gonna move it like that, I guess. And we're all just doing the best we can here. I'm gonna get my kneaded eraser and just get rid of that line. But notice I adjusted it before I erased what I didn't like. You don't want to put it in the same space, you know? Okay, so this is great. We're gonna come up, I don't know, let's look. Not 2 fingers. If I laid my whole first finger down here all the way to the fattest part of it, and put my pencil there, I don't want to start, that's the bottom of the leaf, so that we're going to do this V. It's even higher up. All right, 2 fingertips. 2 fingertips right there. We'll start the V. This first one's a little wider. I think I maybe wanted to bring them. Okay, if we're doing the YMCA, okay, well, this is really wide, but bring those arms up. Get what I'm saying here? I don't know how you guys deal with me. If you're still here, I'm glad you're here. Okay, that is our first one. We got another one here, and it's smaller. Okay, 1, 2, another one. I don't want to get too close to the edge. Look at that. So I'm going to come down about this far and do a third one like this. And actually, I think let's finish this leaf before we start this one so we know if we need to move that line. We're going to come down here. Now, press lightly with this because I created this yesterday and I had to redo these outside lines a couple times. So let's just plan on that. Press lightly. We're going to kind of swoop up right here and follow this line, right? And come up and swoop down more than you think. We don't want a line that's just barely curved, all right? Swoop down in, up and down in, up, down in, up for the top. You can lift up off your pencil so you don't feel stressed out. I gotta get rid of that line here. Turn your paper. You're the boss. Okay, come down, up. Do you like that? I just told you what to do and then told you were the boss. Okay, up and down. I have too much energy today for this. Okay, I love it. Notice all we did. We followed the line of the V. So if you find yourself redoing it right now, that's perfect. I did that 3 times yesterday. Following this line, coming up and around. We want sort of equal space around everything in here between the V and the border. But swoop down in there. That's the cute leaf shape. Like, and I'll just show you. If we didn't and we had this, it would be like this. It's cute too. It's just different. Leaves come in all different shapes, so it'll work. Okay, so see how tight I'm gonna get to that. So I'm going with my original line. I'm coming back to it. And I hate to say it, but I could still see my original line. Okay, and so now 2 V's, 1 and 2, 1, another one up here. And we're going to do the exact same thing that we did, except that we only have 2 instead of 3 for this one. And I think because we stopped our line here, it's just going to sort of naturally work out. So you'll do the same thing. Make sure you dip in there pretty good. I love things like this that just simplify for us. Now, I don't love how low that got because I don't like being this close to the edge of the paper. I feel like I didn't plan well enough when I do that, and that probably shows you that I'm kind of hard on myself. But I'm just bringing it up a little bit, and to me that looks like I planned my space out just a little tiny bit better. I like this one even better, how it comes up more. Look, it's like waves. Then we've got this perfect space over here for something else. Now you could start an acorn by just doing like an oval, and then you would kind of take part of it and turn it into the hat. I like to start with this oval instead. It's like a bean, maybe a long skinny jelly bean. I don't know what it looks like. We're going to come like this. And the thing about this shape of an oval is we've got a horizontal line on the top and another horizontal line on the bottom. And then this is almost like rounded like the side of a circle. Okay, if you put circles in it, it would look like this. If you wanted to start with 2 circles and connect them and erase those lines, that's one way you could get there. And then you can adjust it in a minute. If you're like, that's not the top of an acorn, get out of here. That's okay. Let's come down on both sides. We're going to start to curve it together and then just give it that little tiny point at the end. I never quite feel like I love the point of my acorn. I don't know. I feel like I just want it very subtle. But it does kind of dip down. Ugh. Whatever. And then the thing I think you might want to do is give this a wider curve up top than on the bottom. I don't know. Just look at yours. See what you got. We're all assessing right now. It doesn't matter. It's going to look like an acorn. Boom. We just gave it that little stem, a nice little curve. And that's good. That's all we need for this one, except until the crayon. All right. I want to warn you, the crayon is hard to see. If you struggle seeing, if you are not working in good lighting right now, you may want to go unplug a lamp and pull it closer. You might, I don't know if you could rig up your phone and use the flashlight on your phone, but if you're able to put your paper into the light where you can see it a little bit better, great. If not, we're going to test our memory a little bit. So I don't have any light. I have light, right? But none of it's actually reflecting on the paper where I can see what I'm doing. And so I'm essentially going to work methodically and memorize what I've done. I'm going to start by outlining the big leaf. Now look at that outline. It's on either side of everything. So we wouldn't just do one side of the stem. It'd be both sides. Mine isn't very pointy. It's a little bit, I feel like you can run these through the pencil sharpener, but I haven't. So, and I'm going to start by pressing to the left of my pencil line. I don't really want to overlap my pencil line because remember we want to come later with ink. And I'm pressing, I'm going back and forth. See how that? Back and forth. Because if you barely do it, you just, I don't know, I want the good resist. And I find that if I kind of press and go back and forth and really make sure I'm getting this sort of strong line on here, like the better it goes for me. And I'm really making sure I get right in those dips, right along there. Because think about when you're going to see later. So this is like you thinking ahead. You want that nice solid line to follow all of the curves. Right here, look, it's going to work on both. It's going to work for this one and this one. Come in tight and get next to that stem. I cannot see what I did. So I had to memorize it as I went. I'm going to do this leaf next, exact same thing. And like my crayon is not sharp, so it'll be a wider line. Perfect. I don't think I want a skinnier line anyways, so I hope, I don't know. I know probably some of you don't have a crayon right now. Hope that's not stressing you out. You'll see what's happening, and if you do the same thing without the resist and paint this painting, it will be lovely. It does not require a resist to be cute. You just won't have the white parts, but that's okay. Okay, notice I went on either side of that top stem, and now I'm memorizing what I'm doing. I'm going to the left and around, down, coming up and around, and I'll meet back right there. I am pressing hard, so I don't know. This might be something to do a couple times. Now, what I love about this design is those stripes in the background, and I'm going to tell you I did not measure them. I did not sketch them first because I don't want to see pencil there. I'm just going to wing it, okay? If you are like stressed out about stripes because you can't see what you're doing, polka dots, leaves, remember this cute little leaf shape could be really cute in the background. I don't know, hearts, like polka dots. I don't know what. You guys have good ideas, so whatever you think of. Now I'm going to come down as far as I want the thickness of one stripe to be. I'm pressing, and I want to lift around this. I don't want to put a resist on this leaf, or else, you know, there will be a resist on this leaf. We don't want that. So I'm guessing, and I'm just spacing it down. You can kind of see it. I mean, like, you can see it when it pulls your pencil, which is annoying, but it happens. Uh-oh, I can't tell where I was at last. Okay, I'm right here. I feel like I'm a goofball today. I probably have too much energy for this, which is like a lovely problem to have, really. Okay. I'm looking for the light. I'm not going to add a last one. I think that that's good. And now we are done with our crayon. So if you had another color, this is going to look really cool too, because it's going to stay there, right? That white crayon is there to stay. All right, let's see. Moving our stuff out of the way. Pencil, eraser, white crayon. We don't need any of those anymore. We don't need our ink just yet. And then we're going to get into mixing our colors. I really like these colors today. I feel like maybe I've been saying that, but we're doing cool color stuff on this, I think. Okay, it's harder than you think to get these lights to like work for all of us here. Remember, we like this. So what I'm going to do, make sure you got your water in your towel. I'm going to grab my brush, and we want this really sort of light, soft color in the background. Look how light that is, very light. I'm going to dip my brush into my water and grab the teeniest bit of that mustard color and pull it over to my palette and add a bunch of water. I just thought of something. If anybody bought the other paint palette, I just did a review of this a couple days ago. There are some really lovely sparkly colors in this one. And man, would that be nice in the background of this too, or whatever. So I don't know. Okay. I've got this lovely color. Look how light it is. Okay, it is light. So if yours is too dark, you'll take your brush, clean it out in your water jar, get all the pigment out of your brush, and add water back into this. It really should remain quite light. And then from there, let's grab some puddles that are a little bit brighter. I'm going to get into the, I don't ever call them by name, but the third one up from the bottom left is a yellow. And I want just like a little puddle like this, smaller but brighter. And I also want a little bit of this mustard color right here. I want to be able to choose from them. See how puddly it is? And notice I didn't clean my brush between this one to this one because I knew that that yellow wasn't going to affect the mustard in a way that would bother me. It did mix it, but it was a good mix. Okay, and then what I like is see how this one has a little bit of green in it still, like, you know, like the leaves are changing. So, okay, so I am going to grab the fifth green up from the bottom right is that olive green, mossy green. I want a little bit of that one. So I've got these really lovely colors here. Now, we didn't spray our paints, but we still can. And I've got it over here, and really all I care about, I mean, you can spray everything. I just try not to spray these because you don't want those puddles to mix. But what I want is the 5th one down on the top right. That is burnt sienna. And I just want to know that this has some water on it. It's going to soften it up and make it really easy to grab from, because that's what we will be placing in the center of these leaves. So this is a wet on wet technique. This will be our first color we're placing onto the big leaf first. In this, we will add any of these colors that we want to see, trying not to fully take over that light color. And then we're going to add some of this burnt sienna down the center. But what happens if you have a lot of paint and water in that burnt sienna? It is going to just whoosh, like, right? The paint will take it and pull it. So the less, like, if this is more dry before we get in with that burnt sienna, that's going to help. And also if we come in with that burnt sienna with very little water, that's going to help. So there are different ways to control how much water, but we don't want that to just fly all the way across. It'll still look cool, but it just isn't this effect. All right, so we've got all of these. Oh, let's mix up our blue. Okay, I love this one. How did I do it? Great question. I think what I did was this one. So I think I did... okay, give me 1 second. We're just going to I really liked it, so I don't want to tell you the wrong one and not get it. Okay, it's not that, but that's lovely. Notice I mixed this blue with that orange. I think it is this one, cleaning my brush out and then adding a little bit of this. Ooh, too much. Orange. Yeah, okay. So I did this one. It's one of the more opaque ones, so you can see it sort of lighter and brighter. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th one down from the top center. And then I started that. I'll do it again. I got water on my brush, grabbing some of that right here. Look how bright that is. Now I want to get some of that pigment out of my brush. I'm going to clean my brush. And then I'm going to go into one of these 2 oranges. They're very similar, but I did the 5th one up a little bit. Goes a long way. So touch it in there and mix it around, see what happens. We're looking for like a dusty sort of denim color. I'm pretty obsessed. I really like that. It's so fun to go, these are 36 colors, but we can make more. Okay, so whatever this is, somewhere in that zone, I love it. If you want to go a totally different route, go for it. I think a lot of things would look really nice here. And, oh my goodness, we're ready for it. Are you ready? Okay, sometimes I think it's like jumping. You just gotta be brave and do it. So we'll go this way for today. I have cleaned my brush in my water jar and dried it on my towel. I will now get into this puddle. And I got at least the first half of my brush in there. Remember, wet on wet. This whole thing needs to be wet at the same time. So I will take the tip of my brush and run it along the edges as I lean into the belly of my brush. This is a little lighter than I want, so I'm just adding a little bit that'll sort of spread around. Tip of your brush gives you nice clean edges, so remember that has to get around your edges. And then you can lean into, use that brush pressure, right? Lean into the belly of your brush to get this whole thing filled in. And now I know the whole thing's wet at the same time. But you can see where it's kind of pooling. So I will just touch my brush to my towel and lift just a little bit of that up. If I were to lift this up right now, I want to see the texture of the paper through it, and I don't want puddling or pooling. If there's puddling or pooling, and I know it's just more water and it's going to pull this color really far. While it's wet, let's get in here. Remember, we wanted a little pop of that yellow, so let's get that in here. And what I liked was to just chunk it in, like, I'm cleaning my brush and getting this brighter yellow now, like in sections, like, so I can see a bunch of colors. So see, I just kind of put a little bit. I'm going to grab some of that green too. Maybe on the edges, we'll see some green on here. So everything's still wet. I can tell because I can still see the light reflecting. Good, right? And now you look at your paper and you're going to see, what do you think is going to happen when you add a color? Like, how far do you think it's going to go? And that depends on how wet it is. So I'm taking my brush right now. And I did not add any water. I'm going right into, oh, the wrong one, the 5th one down. And I'm just getting it on the tip of my brush. Okay, so very limited. And from here, I'm going to start and see what happens. So I would take that and run it right along here. Okay, that's pretty good. It's not really going further than I want. Now I'm going to pull my brush back and forth. And like, let's say you get a big spot where it's out of control a little bit. Just try, see, I just touched it a little more. It can widen, but you want it to somewhat stay where you want. Remember, you can move your brush around, but stay light on the tip of your brush. And we want this color bleed to stay close to where our pencil was. If it gets a little unruly, it's okay. And I will remind you, you can clean your brush and dry it. And you could lift your color a little bit, but you know, it's always affected. So like if you push too much, you're going to lift up all that color. And then now you kind of get yourself into a little bit of an ordeal, you know. But I like this. All we needed was to see a little variety of colors in here. All right. You did it. Whew. All right, relax your shoulders. Get comfy in your chair. You're okay. And we're going to do it again. Same exact thing. So if you need to adjust any colors, do so. This one was just a little lighter than I wanted, so I added just a little bit. Same thing now. And because my leaves do not touch, I can just start working on my next leaf. Tip of your brush around the edges. I'm afraid I might be getting a cold or like allergies. Ugh, I don't want you guys to have to hear me cough a bunch on here. Okay, from here, I want to think, what colors do I want to see? And remember, we loved the boldness of this one. So I'm going to try to get that brightness in here again. Nope, I want it more mustardy than that. So make adjustments as they happen. And get some green on here still, because I love that. Notice I didn't keep playing with this one once I got it pretty much how I like, because I don't want to just mess with it until it starts to look messy, because watercolor is transparent. It shows what we do. And also notice that as it dries, it continues to pull the paint. So this color is going to get probably a little wider, and the colors will look different when I look back at them. And we're just going to embrace that. Okay, so we don't have to, oh wait, I almost forgot that burnt sienna. Okay, so remember, don't add water to your brush unless if you had to. These are the teeniest little bits. And because there's already water on your paper, you're okay. And we're going to take that burnt sienna and run it right along the center of this leaf. See how it gets into that big circle? That's going to happen and it's going to bug you. Just don't worry about it though. Just, you know, I kind of fatten things up maybe when that happens. It's okay. It's cool looking. If you saw somebody else do this, you'd be like, whoa, that's cool. Right? Okay, I'm going to get some kind of brown. Maybe the second or third one down on the top right is just sort of a nice brown that doesn't really have much red in it. And I'm going to paint... I'm just going to do the whole thing because we'll just dry it with everything else and then go over it with a dark brown for that lid or little topper. Here's a little quick story as we paint this. When my kids were little, I was with one of my youngest, and we were like waiting in the parking lot for the other kid to get out of school because we were picking him up, and there was tons of acorns. So my daughter wanted to get acorns. This is a gross story, so you can just mute it if you want to. And so she collected a whole Ziploc bag, and it was so fun. And we, you know, I'm such a good mom. She's such a good, we're playing outside. We're amazing, right? And then it stayed in the car for like a couple weeks, and later on it became maggots. I apologize for this terrible story. Okay, let's try this. I mean, disgusting, right? So we don't do that anymore. Okay, now we've got our blue puddles made up. Get this out of our way now. Here we are. That's so cute. These colors are just so sweet, aren't they? If you don't like your color yet, play with it longer. Like, you are not locked in. You get to decide, right? So pause, get rid of what you have if you don't like it. And now we're going to take this and we're going to sort of work just like top to bottom if you can, or maybe this would be an easier way because we want remember, when we are doing a big area like this, and this is like a flat wash, even though it's being interrupted by resist, we don't want a lot of markings in here. We're not changing colors. So we'll take this, start on one side, and think about it like that puddle moving around. I want to really caution you. You're going to feel free because the resist is there, but don't accidentally pull this onto your leaf because it's going to not be cute, you know? So stay, it's cool though, because it gives you this border. Like, think about it. We didn't actually have to dry it first because there was this whole, you know, resist keeping our colors separated, which is pretty cool. But we did, and that was the safe way to do it. So I'm taking a bunch of this, right? Look how wet it is. I'm pulling it around like pulling a puddle. I wish I would have done brown in that center, but that's okay because we have that resist. I'm just going to make sure to go around it. And we will add our dark brown. I think I got ahead of us, but it doesn't matter. And I'm just trying to catch all these edges before they dry, so then we have that nice soft blend between. So this has got barely any space, but we still want to get in there. It's cute, isn't it? Ugh. So I love this. I think it's like interesting looking, and you know, people probably who aren't doing watercolor can't really understand what they're seeing. And I think that's kind of cool too. Okay, this is really good. So I just realized you couldn't see me painting that, but that's okay. You were painting your own. I'm gonna go ahead and take it to the dryer, dry the whole thing, and we'll come back and do the brown on the acorn. I know we're kind of past it, but if any of you just felt like this was out of control on your leaves, you probably had too much water. And if your colors did not blend the way you wanted them to, you probably could adjust and have a little bit more water, okay? So I'm going to dip the tip of my brush into my water and grab some brown paint, and I want to do the same color as I just did here, just a little darker, right? And a smaller, because this is a small space now. So I'm using this tiny puddle. I'm going to fill in, if you just look at this one, the top, so like the lid, and the stem on top really lightly. So I can do those together. So cute. And you know what? While I'm here, I will just clean my brush and dry it. Some of you might want to do this. That little lift on one side is going to give a little bit of an illusion of light. And sometimes it's just nice. It helps your shape look like more rounded. What's going to happen is, because this is still wet, is that paint's going to kind of try to make its way back in. So I'm doing this a couple times. And now we'll dry it, and you know where we're going next is to our felt tip pen or Sharpie or Micron, whatever it is that you have. So we'll dry it. I'm just going to stay here for it. It's just a little dry. Okay. And so this is optional. Stop and look. Which one do you actually like better? If you like this one better, don't go in with the ink. The ink is not always the answer. It's fun to try it, but you can't take it off. I did do some little dots on the one side of the acorn, totally optional. So as we do this, you remember how when we sketched it with our pencil, we started by taking this line up through? Let's start that way. Okay, so so turn your paper as needed to make sure this is all fully dry. And we'll take this and go all the way up and all the way through. If it doesn't perfectly overlap your pencil, that's okay. And I'm going to now follow this edge. Okay, you know what just happened? I was looking at my watch because I was missing a phone call. Don't look away. But what's actually cool is, like, look, that pen did go over the resist, right over it. So apparently I lied in the beginning. That's nice though, because you don't have to worry so much about it. And I'm going to go ahead and do these. Be real careful. It's nice if these meet kind of perfectly in the middle. It doesn't matter, but it's kind of fun. And I'm just going right over my pencil line. I didn't perfectly go over my pencil line here, and that's okay. I wouldn't thicken it up though. I'd let it be. You know how you could take your ink and go over it? I don't think it's going to be better. It's just going to look really thick there, so. And we'll go like this, right over it. I lifted because I felt like I wasn't going to be able to maintain that, and I wanted to turn my paper. So if you ever get to that point, stop. Like, try to carefully lift your pen up so you do not feel pressure to do the whole thing at once. Oh, this is such a cutie one, isn't it? And then let's get this acorn. You can do it wobbly if you wanted to. Like, look, I don't know, is that acorny? Notice I tried something new and I didn't really worry about it. And that's because I know I can do this again, and so can you. Cute, right? Instead of the dots, okay, so if you did the dots, I would just pick one side because they're kind of giving the idea of a shadow over there. Instead, this time I'm going to do a couple little lines that follow that outside line. And then this way. I just like it, you know? It's like cross-hatching. So a couple down, a couple this way. Whichever way you like better is great. And, oh man, I loved this one today. I'm going to sign my work down here. You can sign yours anywhere you want. Here's your reminder. I want to see your stuff. I love seeing what you're doing on my Facebook page, Audrey Shantz Art. And if you want to add that hashtag Audrey's Art Club, that is awesome too. And now we can take this and go to day 13, grab some paint from today, maybe that lovely blue color, and fill it in. And you are finished. You nailed it. Thanks for hanging out with me, you guys.